Hello. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started real soon. We'll wait a couple more minutes. Come on in. Hope you guys got some delicious dinner or making some dinner while you listen to this. It's going to be a good one.
If you're sacrificing Thursday night football to be here, that's awesome too.
Brother, it's not a sacrifice. This is the move.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Actually, who's playing right now? Now you got me curious.
I think it's the Browns and I don't know who they're playing.
Yeah, so you're not yeah, no one's sacrificing anything for that. So sorry. I hope there's no Browns fans here.
You're like sorry, but not sorry.
Not really. Yeah. Manisha. Oh, Manisha. Hello. Yes. Manisha Aluwalia was our keynote speaker at our signature Baltimore speed dating event back in September. Welcome, welcome. Definitely check her content out. She's awesome. We'll start in a couple minutes, folks. Very, very soon. Hello, hello. Welcome. Hey, Neelaj. How's it going, man? I think Neelaj is gonna give Ankur a run for his money in terms of hair. His ponytail is off the chain.
I should bring back mine from college, but I don't think I can do it the same anymore.
That's true. Wait, I don't remember you with the ponytail, Virinchi.
Yeah, I
Oh,
had a whole top knot, like a proper man bun.
oh,
My roommate
oh,
at the time, he made
yeah,
sure that my hair was always clean and faded up. Like every week, he would be like, "Hey, you need a cleanup?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it," because he had clippers and everything, and he was
yeah.
like really good at it. So
Ah, that's fair.
yeah, and then my parents made me cut it off later. That's a whole
That's always the
that's
case, man. Yeah.
the whole debacle of its own. Yeah.
Well, maybe we might touch on that. But I think let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining. So a couple ground rules before we get started. So only Virinchi, Unker, and I will be the ones talking. So we request everyone to stay muted. So with that said, welcome to our second men's talk. We had our first one back in July. And yep, and we wanted to come back. It's Men's Mental Health Month. International Men's Day was this past Tuesday. So we wanted to come back and do something else again. Have like a nice little safe space for men as well. And we have a lot of good conversation points prepared for you all. But before that, we want to cover a couple things. Rather, if you could go towards the next slide. Okay. So single to Shaadi. So obviously a lot of you already know what this is as you're on our platform right now, but we are primarily a matchmaking service and it's run by the fabulous Radha Patel who is also moderating this virtual event as well. So we do matchmaking service. We also have started expanding out into events both live and virtual, like the one you're on right now. And yeah, I mean, and then we also do coaching, astrology. So we have a lot of stuff going. And we also just want to create a sort of community for people, such as this one, where we have a community for guys to be able to discuss things. Um, and yeah, it's just we are ever evolving, and we can't wait to see what 2025 brings for us. Um, and can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so now I want to introduce you both to well, I want to introduce you all to two of my friends, my good friends. First up, we'll start off with Virinchi. So Virinchi, actually I've known Virinchi for like over a decade now. And so the last couple of years he's been like a bodybuilder and a fitness coach as well. And he has a lot of exciting stuff that he has planned to discuss today. Virinchi, would you like to go into your intro a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So, firstly, big shout out to Single to Shaadi, because without you all, I wouldn't be able to have this kind of platform and talk about the important things. Most importantly, besides fitness, it's about breaking barriers in the Desi and South Asian community. It's about breaking the myths, stereotypes, and stigmas that exist not just with fitness, but also mental health. And I went with along that journey over the past couple of years. And listen, at the end of the day, growth is a scary thing. And if it wasn't scary, we wouldn't be where we are today in terms of, our end goals or our visions and things like that, our dreams, right? So to be here, I'm very grateful and I'm excited to share with everybody things that I have learned, things that I'm continuing to learn, and also being able to share my knowledge to help the community. So basically foster a healthier community, a more fit community, and a mentally stronger community within the Desi South Asian community.
Oh, beautifully said, brother. I can't wait. This is gonna be good. Now our next guest speaker is Ankur Bhatia. I've also known him like for a decade, but we really connected a couple of years, similar to Virinci as well. He's based out of the DMV area. He's an influencer. He also writes, he has a lot of like writing projects he does. And he's a good friend of mine as well. He was also our Pride Month panelist back in July. So check that out as well on our YouTube channel and our podcast channels. So you can watch the magnificence that Ankur was as well. So Ankur, would you like to give a little intro for yourself as well?
Sure. Thank you, Utkarsh, and thank you to Single to Shadi for having me again. Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Ankur. I'm a South Asian influencer, writer, creative, living in the DMV area, and I am working on a series of Hindu mythology-based fantasy novels. And I just started my YouTube channel this year, and I'm hoping to deliver engaging content centered around psychology, relationships, and healthy masculinity.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Um, so Radha, can you go to the next slide? There is a special offer that Virinci is has for everyone on this call. But in general, there's this book that he created, which is a free ebook. Go ahead and scan the QR code, or you can download the link as well. And we'll put it up as well on the chat as well. But it's completely free, and it will basically go over a lot of the things that we discuss here as well, which is like a lot of this Desi stereotypes, excuses that we have for fitness and our mental well-being, some of the generational beliefs that we have in the South Asian and Desi community, about fitness and just how to live a healthier lifestyle. It's awesome. Definitely recommend it. And on top of that, he has a 40% off premium like 3-month training package that's basically 40% off for everyone that's on this call. Definitely book him up. He's the best South Asian like fitness guy like in this area, at least that I know of for sure. So I definitely recommend it. This is just on this call only. So yeah. So just wanted to plug that in there as well. Get your free ebook, like Radha said. And yeah, so now I guess without further ado, let's get into the men's talk. Radha, real quick, can you just plug in Ankur and Virenci's Instagram handles as well?
Yeah, I'm trying to turn off the screen share.
Oh, okay. But okay, sounds good. While she does that, we're gonna get into the men's talk. So we're gonna go right into it, and we're going to talk about how Virinchi almost died. Uh,
Oh, what
just
a
go
way.
right in. So Virinchi, can you just tell us a little bit about your near-death experience that you had, which led to a complete transformation in your mental well-being?
Yeah, and for everybody who attended the first men's mental health talk, you kind of have an idea already about what the background behind this is, but essentially, let me backtrack a little bit because I pretty much was in the worst mental space of my life, I would say, February, this past February. And so for my birthday, I decided to take a solo trip to Thailand. And when I was in Bangkok for about like a month and some change, I pretty much pushed all my problems aside, just like how us men do. We bury our problems. We don't really think about it. We don't talk about it. We try to evade, avoid all of that. So I did all of that. And what happened when I went to Phuket was I had like a series of events during that week just kind of led up to this near death experience. Essentially what happened was I was going paragliding, the wind changed, and due to the wind, the paraglider dropped, I hit rocks, and the pilot lost control of the paraglider for about 5 minutes. I pretty much came to terms in those 5 seconds that I was dead because I was so high up you could literally see like it's just water underneath and was supposed to be like a 30-minute ride really was about 10 minutes just getting me down. And the next 24 to 48 hours were like a euphoric moment because it gave me an idea about how life is such a fickle. It's so short that such a moment like this can just alter your life and change your destiny. And so, pretty much since then, I just been counting my blessings, counting gratitude, and remembering that, hey, this is one life to live. And so, during this life, I want to be able to accomplish the most that I can. I want to be the best version of myself. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to help people who were in this mental rut and basically had to fight their way through it. And if you were to ask me today, what would you tell somebody who's going through a series of storms? How would you get out of it? I would just say embrace the storms, feel the storm, and understand all the different emotions that are coming in this storm. Because I personally believe that at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a bad emotion. All emotions are good. It's just about how you feel it and how you carry yourself and handle it. So I've been pretty much doing that since then. And this past September, I went to Dubai for a friend's wedding, and it was the first time I traveled abroad where I had nothing holding me back. And because of that, I came back home really happy and really motivated and kind of in tune with my spiritual side and also in tune with my relations when it comes to family, when it comes to friends and things like that. And also pursuing my goals because I understand that, hey, time is limited, but I want to be the best that I can within this time and just be better one day at a time compounding the wins, right?
Compounding the wins and counting your blessings.
Absolutely.
And I'd say like the biggest uh thing that you learned from your near death experience is counting your blessings and having gratitude, right?
Hmm.
So I guess I want to hear from your perspective how okay, you had a near death experience, that's fine, but not everyone is going to go through that, right? So
I
how do
hope
I
not.
yeah, exactly, hopefully
Yeah.
not. So how do we implement more gratitude into our lives in general? Like what would you say?
I would say, so since I'm an avid traveler, I look back at my experiences from traveling, and I think one of the biggest things that hit me was when I went to Rajkot for a friend's wedding. And the way that my friend's wedding was set was the airport's here, Rajkot's here, and the resort is here. So you have to go through the city of Rajkot to get to the resort. And I just saw a bunch of, homeless people or like very impoverished people on the roads. And I'm like, these people have never seen probably have never seen anything else outside of this village, let alone how big India is, right? So, that really put into my perspective that my problems, they may seem big to me, but these people don't even care about those problems like that. They have other things to worry about, which is life. Like they are worrying about life on a day-to-day basis, about staying healthy, about just making sure they have ends meet for the next day. And so that alone, I realized it when I came back from Thailand. I started counting that and just having healthy parents, being able to go to the gym, being able to just talk, being able to smell, being able to hear. It's just the smallest things that make your day. And also, now it's just more about more micro things. So at the end of the day, it's like, hey, I didn't get into that argument with that dude at the grocery store, or I didn't yell at that guy who cut me
Or
off on the street, So things like that. I just count the smallest of blessings, being able to breathe, being able to be healthy in a time where, you just read about a lot of bad, healthy things happening around the world, unhealthy things.
Absolutely. And just real quick, just for the chat, feel free to ask questions on the chat itself and we'll answer it accordingly as well. So this is a live Q&A as well. So if the questions are related, then we'll be answering questions as well. So okay. Now I want to go to Ankur. That was beautifully said, Virinchi. Ankur, how do you feel like we can implement gratitude into our lives?
thank you. So in order to cultivate a practice of gratitude, it's like any other practice or skill, right? It requires some sort of commitment to a ritual or exercise on a daily basis to form that habit. And so I would recommend doing something like waking up and writing like 5 things you're grateful for, or before you go to sleep, 5 things you're grateful for. Like have something like while you're brushing your teeth, just think of your 5 grateful things. Just doing something that you can incorporate on your daily routine and schedule where you can just train your brain to look out for 5 things. And that will help shift your outlook and start to, on a daily basis, you'll even start to kind of see more things to be grateful for. So that would be my recommendation.
Journaling is so big.
Mm.
I feel like there's like a taboo about it. Like, do you guys feel that as well? That like there's some sort of taboo about journaling and, doing all that?
I think there is. I think when it comes to journaling, I think when it comes to just writing in general, there seems to be kind of like a feminine aspect to it. It's like, why are you writing things? Like, who are you doing it for? But there's a true power to it when it comes to mindset, and that is writing down your goals, writing down your vision, writing about where you see yourself tomorrow, next week, a month, 5 years. And the power of manifestation really derives from you writing that down. It's incredible how it works. Um, it's really funny because it happened to me like about like a few weeks ago where there's this popular chain called DCG, District Chicken and Gyro, and they
Mm.
reached out to me and basically they're like, hey, like we appreciate what you're doing, so if you're interested in like using us to help meal prep for your next show, we are more than available to help you. And it's funny because I messaged that to my friend, one of my friends, like a year ago, and I found the message and I was like, dude, you're not going to believe this. So it's funny how that works. It's true.
Really? DCG?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sick. Go ahead, Ankur.
Oh no, I was just laughing at that.
Agree. No,
Very
no,
funny.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But wait, what was the question? Journaling.
No, yeah, but it was about journaling and the
Yeah.
taboo
Yeah.
that, like, yeah, go ahead.
I think, yeah, journaling, to Virgie's point, is seen almost like a feminine quality. I remember I was watching like some like reality TV show on MTV once, and one guy had a journal, and then all the other guys like made fun of him. They took his journal, they hid it somewhere, and just bullied him about it. And it was really sad to see that like that's the state of our youth, where like men are taught to just like are so insecure that when they see someone else processing their emotions in a healthy way, taking time for themselves, they feel triggered to then hurt that other man. So I
Mhm.
think there's still a long way we have to go as a society in terms of recognizing men's mental health and just advocating for it. But to the point about journaling, it is a great way to process your emotions, and it's definitely something that needs to be destigmatized.
Absolutely. And Danny just gave us a message that he agrees that there is a taboo with journaling, but he does write goals, notes, and important personal items on my phone. Work goals are on a whiteboard in my office as a reminder daily. So is that considered visualization? Do you guys know what that is?
I think it could be because like
Okay.
when you put pen to paper and you write it down, I think you are visualizing in your mind, right? You are trying to see what it would feel like to be in that position X amount of time from now. So I think it's real. I think there is visualization to it.
Absolutely. And not to stay too much into the journaling aspect, but there was something that you mentioned, Virinchi, actually about like this was when you were talking about how you were able to control the emotions, like if someone cuts you off in traffic, for example, you're not angry and this, that, right?
Mhm.
So I wanna talk about those like fierce emotions, right?
Yeah.
Um how do we control them so that they don't, yeah, I mean, how do we control these like very fierce emotions like anger, and even
I mean,
sadness? Yeah, go ahead.
considering that we're men,
Hmm.
the number one emotion that we deal with every day is anger. That's the man's number one emotion. And to be able to kind of process anger, and understand these fierce emotions that you're talking about requires some form of emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, it's easy for me to talk about it, but it's so hard to implement it. And I think we struggle a lot within the South Asian Desi culture about just controlling these negative, harsh, fierce emotions on a day-to-day basis. So emotional intelligence is so important because when you do feel these fierce and harsh and strong emotions, you need to be able to understand the feeling and you need to know how to subside it. That is the most important part that comes out of that, subsiding the angry emotion. And it doesn't mean burying it, hiding it, and storing it away for later. It means addressing the emotion. And it could mean as simple as, hey, I'm gonna take a 5 second breath and breathe out and be able to say, okay, this guy cut me off. I'm not going to say anything. Breathe. Just breathe. 5 seconds. Just breathe. All right. The anger is gone. And breathing, and I know Ankur knows very well for this too. Breathing is such a key factor for just being able to control yourself. And so that's how I do it when it comes to emotional intelligence. So it's hard. And I went to therapy for it. So like I definitely use therapy as a stepping stone for me to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Ankur, any thoughts on how to control our emotions?
Yeah, that was beautifully said, Vinchy. To add to that, yeah, I agree. Anger is the only acceptable emotion that men are allowed to show. And as a result, we have a generation of young men who don't know how to process any other feeling or emotion or express any other feeling or emotion except for anger. And I would say like when you have those big feelings, it's important to, I think, always ground yourself in the present moment, like you were saying, Brinchi, like taking those deep breaths, but also like being able to objectively like remember that like an emotion, it's like it's there to give you some sort of information about something right that's happening in your environment. So it's meant to protect you, it's meant to give you information. So it's always about how you what you take from that experience. And so when you're able to kind of take some time to like pause and breathe, you can better kind of think through with your
Mhm.
more frontal lobe and your processing, intellectual brain than like your back of your brain, the lower reptilian brain that's just in fight or flight, that response, right? So that's why it's so important to just pause and breathe, or just like objectively like stand back in those big moments. And whether that is anger, whether that is like extreme sadness, desperation, there's so many emotions, and they all we get everyone has different triggers, different things that are going to happen in their life that will trigger them, or just life happens, and you can't stop feeling devastation, loss, grief, these big powerful experiences. It's about how you can like go through them in a healthy way. And I think to that point I will say that it's really important to feel your emotions, and like you said, Brinchi, not suppress them, because they're meant to be feel, they're meant to be processed. And so suppressing big feelings is also unhealthy and toxic in its own way.
I will say one more thing. I think us as men, we act first, think later. And a lot of times it comes with apologies. And like by that point, we've already acted, right? So your
Mm,
apology only carries a certain weight after that. So being able to think first and act later is a skill. It truly is a skill.
mhm. Yeah.
It is. And Ankur, how synchronous. Manisha mentioned pause, as well, because you were saying pause like when you had like some very strong emotions coming up.
Yeah.
So her pause is, and it's an acronym, perhaps an unseen solution exists. So
Cool.
it is pretty much exactly what you were describing as well.
Mm,
Yeah. So just
love that.
pause, just feel the emotions, just chill for a sec. Yeah. And like Virinchi said, take a couple deep breaths, and ground yourself real quick. It's important. Yeah, a lot of things can, a couple seconds of anger can change your entire life. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. Absolutely, that was beautiful. Let me read a couple of these comments here, as well. Uh, Deepish mentioned even talking about mental health is a taboo for men. Well, that's true. That is
Mhm.
true. Yeah. Do you think joining a call like this is taboo?
I think so
Yeah.
because, yeah, because I feel like when people talk about their, sorry, when men talk about their emotions, they're deemed as weak, and it's stigmatized. It doesn't matter if you're Desi, it doesn't matter if you're American or
Yeah.
whatever. It doesn't matter. I just think at the end of the day, when you start talking about your emotions, it's like, all right, that's enough. Like we don't want to hear a man talk about his emotion. But I think the most powerful thing is a man who knows he's passionate, he's emotional, and he knows how to control it. And being able to be vulnerable and use those emotions at the appropriate times. And you don't want to be like emotional to the point where like you're just crying on someone's shoulder and pouring everything out, right? But more so, it's like being able to be strategically emotional, intelligent, where you are able to be vulnerable and you are be able to express these emotions. And I think again, it comes to a stigma where men are deemed as weak when they do it. But I would say picture emotions that men express is really the tip of the iceberg, and everything else is the whole rest of the iceberg because we know how big icebergs are. And
Right.
to really get a man to open up to the rest of that iceberg requires a lot of time. It requires patience. It requires a safe space for a man to be able to share because you don't want to be felt like you're a burden while you're doing that. Rather, you want to be a burden in the most emotionally positive way possible, where for example, your partner is able to share her burden or his burden towards you, and you guys work together to deem a solution and move forward. So that's just how I see this whole man in emotions ideal.
Ankur, did you have anything?
Yeah. There's this clip I saw somewhere. It was like when women hang out, they face each other, talk to each other, and talk, and when men hang out, they face a screen or they face a stadium or some sort of thing, and they don't really talk face to
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
And so it's like very interesting in the sense that like even the way that we socialize is different, right? And I would say that you know when a man can you know ex- like understand his emotion and just like regulate himself and express himself and be vulnerable, that's very like it not only shows just like high emotional intelligence, but it shows like a desire to just like be authentic in the moment, right? And just so I think it really affects the way that you show up in your relationships, in your family, in your any dynamic in your career, in your romantic relationships. And so just to add to that, I think it's very important for men to express themselves, but to the point like it is a taboo, I think, just in the sense that it I'm gonna think about this. It is a taboo in the sense that like it's just I think men are just not so comfortable expressing themselves or comfortable not knowing how to like handle emotions, right? And as men, we are taught to be the people who find solutions to everything, right? We're taught we're supposed to be the provider. We're supposed to be the one that has all the answers. And so anytime these kind of we step into these roles of like a father or like a husband or a boyfriend, right? And then we're like thrust onto this like responsibility of caring for someone else's emotions, and we ourselves don't know how to be emotional ourselves. It just creates this like snowball effect of just mishandling emotions, right? So I think it's definitely not just, yes, it's a taboo for men to speak amongst themselves, but it's also like in the sense a taboo for men to speak in their wider circles, like in their families and with their parents, to like express themselves fully and express their emotions, to ask for help, right? It's seen as weak. It's seen as just like you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, you're not man enough. So to that point, it's up to everyone, and not just like one gender or one role, but like everyone in the community to listen to men's voices when someone reaches out for help, right? Like they say men are the most likely to commit suicide. Men are the most likely to fall into alcoholism or do drugs, right? It's like they don't have any other outlet, right, to express or heal, right? So they turn to these negative and harmful ways to deal with those emotions.
Do you guys know what a Sigma male is?
No, I'm not familiar.
So is
All
Sigma
right,
like the new word
Sigma.
for beta? Like,
No, no.
oh,
So
oh, okay.
a Sigma male is basically somebody who thinks they're a lone warrior and they can do
Oh, okay.
everything on their own, and they can tackle life's challenges on their own, their emotions on their own, pretty much do everything themselves. It's like an arc, right? And do you guys know what this winter arc is?
Oh,
So
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
winter
I've seen
arc,
the reels about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the winter arc
Okay.
basically is like you have 3 months left to end the year,
Yeah.
push your goals, whatever. And you see these reels of people wearing a hoodie. It's dark, it's in the gym and things like that. And I absolutely detest, I hate this whole winter arc mentality. I hate this Sigma mentality too, because as men, again, like to everything that Ankur is saying, like we think that we can do things alone without the help of anybody, whether it's
Right,
opening up to anybody, talking about our emotions to people. Because again, a lot of times men do not know how to talk about our emotions. And when we do, we are often scared about talking about these emotions because we don't know how our friends will handle it. Or are we talking to the right person to, talk about these emotions too? So I truly think that you need to surround yourself amongst people who are there to support you, uplift you, and also bring positive energy into your life. And I think there comes a point as we get older that we no longer want to be a part of like a group of people or like around surrounding people who just offer boisterous speculation into our life. Rather, we want people who are committed, people who are
right.
driven, people who are positive, and people who support you and uplift you in every area of life. Fitness, health, nutrition, being able to chase your goals and things like that.
Beautifully said, both of you. Couldn't agree more. Uh, okay, so let's hold on. There we have several comments in the chat here. So Neelaj mentioned, and this was in reference to the journaling and stuff. So I think it helps to write down personal life ethos down so you can stare at them while you work. It's kind of like an affirmation, I think that he's describing, which is beautifully done. Rather learn how to subside your anger emotion, because anger is the foremost emotion most men deal with. Yeah, and by subside we don't mean
Bury it.
suppress or bury. Yeah, yeah. It's more so just feeling it and then letting the emotion go naturally. Manisha, a man who can be vulnerable and express and own and not suppress their emotions in this day and age is hot, in my opinion. That's true. I mean,
Hey,
yeah.
it takes a lot. I'll tell
Yeah.
you, like there are athletes out there who like you don't know what they're dealing with, right? So a lot of men look at Chris Bumstead as like a somebody who is a vulnerable athlete, somebody who is very comfortable sharing his emotions and offers very good wisdom and life advice. So for men who are looking for somebody with genuine advice, I would say look at the way he talks and the way he acts and shares his emotion. And also a podcast I recommend is called Modern Wisdom. It was a very good podcast, just interviewing various people from different aspects of life and just talking about how their journeys and how they express their emotions and how they were sharing their emotions with other people. It's good.
It's interesting that you mentioned Chris Bumstead, right? Because yeah, he's very raw and
Mhm.
emotionally open. Um, uh, However, we've idolized, and he's one of my favorite players, but like Michael Jordan, right? Like I think he's known for like, or at least based off The Last Dance, like he's known for like taking things personally, etc., right? And then I feel like that's how he motivated himself to become one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But is that, I mean, I guess like what can, I don't know, what do you think about the approach that he had, I guess?
I think there's boundaries, right?
Okay.
And greatness requires certain boundaries to be broken and barriers to be broken too. Like the way that Michael Jordan took things personally and pretty much, motivated his team in maybe the most diabolical way possible is something that probably nobody would ever do now except for Kobe Bryant, you know?
Hmm.
And that, I mean, just because they're basically twins, the way they act and everything. But I think it truly depends on the environment that you're in. And the way that I look at this is like when you look at greatness, think about tennis. You got at one point you had Rafael Nadal, you had Roger
Federer.
Federer, and you had Djokovic, right? Nadal, he's just jacked tennis player, and he's in great shape. Then you have Djokovic, who's like sharp on every areas of the court, and then you have like Federer, who goofs around and everything, but is still considered one of the greatest people of all time. Those are three different goats, right, that we saw in one era of tennis. And all of them are successful in their own way. So the way that I look at success and being able to define yourself about taking things personally or, I think you really need to find what drives you, how and what motivates you, and ultimately understand that yes, you can have idols to, you like, I want to be like him or whatever, but understand your journey is different. You have a complete different journey. There's a reason why, there's not another Nadal or another Djokovic or another Andy Murray or, another Rafael Nadal. There's reasons for that because we're all different. We live a different path. So I think you just got to find what motivates you, what's best for you, and depends on your environment as well.
Ucker, did you want to add anything to that?
Um, yes, I know we're kind of breaching into the topic of leadership, and I know that was
Hmm.
something that we're gonna discuss further. So I can hold my thoughts until we get to that
No,
stage.
we can. No, no, no. Actually, that's where I was segueing into. So yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So, I don't know much about sports, but just from the context of this conversation, hearing how Michael Jordan led his team, there's there's like leadership that is healthy and leadership that is toxic, right? There's a difference between being someone's boss and being and bossing people around and making people follow orders versus leading them, coaching them, nurturing them, inspiring them to be the best version of themselves. And when it comes, like I said, when it comes to masculinity and being a man, we're expected to know everything, perform the best 24/7 all the time. And, uh, you know, in Desi households, like we are, you know, seen as the patriarchs, right? Where we're supposed to be the backbone of our household. We're supposed to be strong providers. We have to not just bring food and shelter and money and resources, but like we have to care for everyone. We have to know everyone's problems and we have to solve them. If something like breaks, we have to call someone and fix it. Like we're expected to do a lot in this role as a leader of our households. And so I feel like they see men in general feel a lot of pressure to be super successful, to be this like amazing person. And often under that pressure, we don't make any time to actually like introspect or take care of ourselves. And then we burn out or we release that pressure in unhealthy ways and on our other family members or people in our lives. So when it comes to this idea of leadership and just being the best version of yourself, I would say that like it, you know, it really comes down to like, how do you want to like actually take care of the people around you, you know? Do you like, yes, you can lead with a stern hand and be bossy and be super strict and I think that like, from my own experience, like I've seen that in my, my family, where my other cousins who are, they have younger siblings or they have a younger sister, that like at a certain age they kind of take over the household and they, uh, you know, like just command, like they just drive everything, but in a very like bossy way that just screams like insecurity in a way. Because like if you're yelling at your parents, if you're yelling at your sister, if you're telling them constantly what to do, how to present themselves, and you're feeling like they're respecting you by listening to you, that's not the truth. That's not respect. That's fear, right? And I think as Desi men, we get put, like, to a degree, we get in our households, we also get put on this pedestal, right? Like we're like, you're the where you can't make any mistakes, or you're the son of the family, you're the promised one, you're gonna lead our family line, and you're seen as this like, gift from God, right? And so from that sense, we also get a bit leniency to just do whatever we want or live our lives wherever we want. Whereas the women in Desi households are often just seen as supposed to be a supporter of the man's dream and just supporter of the family and to give birth to children, right? And I could get into intersectional feminism and patriarchy and all that, but I won't. I think I'll just leave it at this: that like as a leader, going back to that idea of like an alpha male, sigma male, beta male, um, like someone who actually is a true leader is someone who's gonna take the time to take care of themselves mentally, physically, and also take the time to take care of everyone else mentally, physically, emotionally. And to do that, to actually truly lead someone, is to not want things to go your way, but to know what is like the right way or the best way that has the best outcome from everyone, and to inspire people to see that vision and go there as well.
I think as a leader, you also have to be humble, right? And you
Mm.
have to drop your ego. A lot of men and Desi men too, we have a pretty big ego. And most of the time we are unwilling to drop this ego and talk about the more important things, which is like taking care of our families, right? How do we do that without acting like I am the man, you know? I
Mm.
am the man of the house, you know? And like like the way that I look at this is like I want to be able to a set in stone kind of like a leadership role where I'm constantly learning from my future partner, but at
Mm.
the same time, like I'm able to showcase these leadership skills to my future kids, so that way when they look and see how mom and dad are kind of running the household, it's like, okay, I want to be like them. Because like you're saying, like the old Desi mindset about the woman sacrificing, their dreams for the man, it's real. I've seen it, I experience it. So I definitely think in terms of like the future, dropping the ego is one of the most powerful things that we can do as men to be able to grow. And growing is never easy. Growing is one of the hardest things to do, right? Especially when it comes to yourself. Being able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I have a big ego. I need to drop this to, make my life better. But yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying.
Absolutely. And I want to put a pin on the leader conversation. We're going to come back to it. Someone on the chat has a fabulous question, Rohan. Um, he's saying, thanks, Virinchi and Ankur, for offering your insights and experiences. Can you dive into the complexities in living powerfully as a modern Desi man, giving the American context, which historically, sociologically emasculated us and fellow men from Desi communities, especially considering we're 1.6% Asian Americans of the US population by volume. So basically, like, how can we be powerful? I guess to summarize, how can we be powerful even though we're in such a minority like in this country? Um, that is a fully loaded question. Who
I
wants to take it?
think
Yeah,
uh,
go
I-
ahead.
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
I think the first thing is being able to be comfortable with yourself, right? If you're never comfortable with yourself, you're never able to be make a mark. It just kind of goes back to actually when I was in high school and freshman year of high school, I was in like pre-AP biology, and my science teacher was like, "Are you doing science fair?" I said no. And she goes, "Well, all my Indian students last year did it, so why aren't you doing it? You should be doing it too." I came home and I told my dad this, and he goes, "She's right. You should definitely be doing this." But I was like shocked then, and I'm still shocked now at how that was handled because as a Desi American, some things still exist from previous generations today, right? Which is like we want to be better than everybody else around us. We want to have the most money, the best education, the best car, the best jewelry, the best designer stuff. Like we want to be the best of the best of the best.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, show it
I'm
off.
joking.
But but the thing is, like, in this American dream, we have such a unique opportunity that our parents do not, which is pursuing ambitions that exist outside of money. And I'm not talking about like, cybersecurity, IT, doctor, lawyer. And this is why I talk about living powerfully as a modern Desi man. We have the unique opportunity to do things that our parents could not or didn't even think of because most of us are probably now first generation Americans. I'm a first generation American, and my sister and I have both realized we have a unique opportunity here in America as minorities to basically pursue something outside of the normal, Desi career path realm. I think that alone and being comfortable with your body, your emotions, and the way you act is such a unique opportunity that you probably don't have anywhere else in the world. That's just kind of how I see it.
Unker, do you have anything?
Sure. Yeah, I have a lot of strong thoughts and feelings about
Okay,
this.
perfect.
And thank you for asking, Rohan. Yeah, so living powerfully, first of all, that word powerfully, it means like, when you focus on that, it's about living and leading your life with confidence and an energy that is, abundance and just magnetic and that fuels growth and helps other people grow and thrive, right? And, growing up, we had like Apu on The Simpsons. In the Big Bang Theory, there's Raj, right? And you see at by the end of the Big Bang Theory, all the other male leads are happily married, except for Raj. He's the
Mhm.
only guy who didn't end up with a girl, and it's like to Rohan's point, like oftentimes Desi men are emasculated in Western media, right? Like we are like portrayed with a thick accent and we're the butt of the joke, and it's just this like ridiculous kind of comedy, right? Like and we don't deserve that, and I think that like growing up we internalize that as men as well, right? um to the point that like we don't think that we deserve anything more for ourselves. And I think like to your point, Virinchi, that we are expected to do science fair or fit certain roles, right? I think that comes to a from this idea of like we are the model minority, right? We are expected to
Mhm.
excel and contribute to society, and that's our place, right? And that just one pits us against other races, and it doesn't actually help us see ourselves for who we are and how we what role we play in this more white centered society, right? And so it's about kind of recognizing kind of the systems at play, who's
Mhm.
benefiting from us, hating ourselves, hating each other. And I think to the point of like, how can we take back our power? How can we take back our agency and live life more powerfully? You can turn to like instead of looking at Western media, you can turn to Indian media. Like look at Bollywood, look at how these heroes are portrayed, or look at our religion, look at these forms of God, look at these characters from our stories and how larger than life they are, and but also like how stoic they are, how much wisdom they have, how they are like use excellence as a standard to drive them, right? And I think that with these living in America with these kind of contrasting opinions or like these things being fed to us that like we are supposed to fit this role or do this, and you're Indian, you're not good enough, you're not good looking enough, you're smelly, all this. It's like you have to deal like we deal with this racism, we deal with this getting put down and these comparisons and emasculation, right? And I think growing up, me personally, I didn't really let that define my experience. I think what I realized was that, like, I'm gonna live my life how I want to live it, no matter what, like, anyone's telling me that, I'm not just gonna fit in a box, right? I think that's the mistake that I would advise not to fall into. Like, you're like, to your point, Virgie, like, just because you're Indian, you don't have to do science, right? Like, I
Mhm.
like writing and literature, right? And I would bring like a book to read with like my cousins, be like, why are you reading? And it's like, it's one, it was expected for me as a boy to read, and also two, it's just like, the box as an Indian boy was to play cricket and not read. So like, I wasn't really fitting in. But I would say, like, as long as you stay true to yourself and true to what you want, how you want to express yourself, and living your life authentically, like, you're gonna attract the people who are more in line with your authentic self. And it won't matter what the messaging is. It won't affect you, because you won't be peer pressured to fit a certain box or perform in a certain way or show up a certain way, right? So those are my thoughts on that question.
No,
It's
go ahead.
one thing that Ankur said. When even from middle school to high school, I was ashamed to be Indian because of all the different stereotypes and racist slurs that I got while growing up. And even when it came to college, luckily, I found some brown friends and I had friends who did Garba and did Ross and Bhangra and all these things. But still, I had a really hard time like re-engaging myself with Bollywood culture. And it was such a traumatic experience, my middle school and high school time period, that even to this day, like when I talk about Bollywood and stuff like that, like I still have like this ick talking about it. Like it comes from like the past, that I was not comfortable being Indian. And oftentimes, like, why was I born Indian? Why did this happen to me? But I think to your point, being able to address who you are, embracing your culture, that's what makes you a modern Desi man in today's American society. Embracing your culture, embracing, Hinduism or Buddhism or whatever religion that you have or practice from India or Southeast Asia or South Asia or everything. I think that's important. So,
What?
Okay, tomorrow.
and
Can we mute the background, please?
I think
Is it
Just Bina?
just
Just Bina,
Bina?
your mic
Yeah.
is on.
Unless you have.
And I don't know if we can mute her. Let me see.
yeah, she's
Yes.
muted.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
But I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
There's a Buddhist proverb: what you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. So, if you really work on yourself and you list out things that you want to become better at, I think in the long run it'll help. I'm still working on myself, reconnecting myself with Desi, South Indian culture. It's hard, but like I'm getting there, I'm trying. But I know how much it affected me as a kid, and it's crazy how much it still affects me now. I thought it would be long over, but we're still working on it.
Absolutely. I wish I could say that I had an ick to talk about Bollywood because of some racist thing, but I just don't like
I don't
Bollywood.
think you
But
want to wish that,
that's a
bro.
hot take.
Like, it comes to a point sometimes, like I'm on social media and I'm like seeing like people in dance classes, like Bollywood dance classes,
Yeah.
and like it still affects me a little bit where I'm like, why are they like, what's going on? Like, why do these classes exist? Such a terrible mentality, but I know where it comes from and I know exactly like what I got to do to address it. But at the same time, I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, what we're in 2024, like what 20 years worth of that has still affected me? Insane.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. But yeah, let me go to the chat real quick because we have a lot of action going on here. So Deepish, also we have lack of positive male Desi role models, especially in the Western culture. This goes back to what Ankur was saying about Raj from Big Bang, etc., being portrayed as a goofy, can't like get like romantic partners type stereotype, etc. And let me see. Dipesh also mentioned that the definition of masculinity is also unclear nowadays. Radha asked if you wanna like, what are your thoughts? Dipesh, oh, this is interesting. So Dipesh mentioned His definition of masculinity is being a protector and provider for the human race, not just your own family, being a mentor, giving back, making a positive difference, being independent and strong emotionally and physically.
But I think the toxic part of that is thinking that you can do it all, that you can do everything. Because I think there comes to a point where, yes, as a man, you want to be strong. You want to be a source of knowledge. You want to be, you want to have value. Ultimately, as a man, the most important thing in today's society is being able to provide value, no matter what it is. But if you try to think that you can do everything all at once and try to exploit that, I think ultimately, like what Ankur was saying previously, you'll crash and burn. And I think you have to be able to understand what you can do, what you can't do, what you need to work on, and what you're good at. I think that is all the different areas you need to think about when addressing masculinity. Because the last thing you want to do is have this toxic association with masculinity, where when somebody's trying to have a positive discussion with you about something, you shut them down because you're like, I know this. I'm so good at this. I know everything. So I think there's a fine line between knowing everything, learning, and also being able to express what you know.
Ankur, it seemed like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, that was beautifully said, Virinchi. And just to add to that, this idea of masculinity and femininity, it's like, it's about duality, right? It's about balance, like yin and yang, right? And so for me, I think it not masculinity doesn't just become toxic when you think you can do it alone, but also when you suppress your femininity and your divine feminine. And in a, I guess the best example I can give for this is like, you know, again, just suppressing talking about your emotions or shaming other men for talking about their emotions or expressing their desires or coming to you to talk about their feelings, right? Like that is when you will experience toxic masculinity because you're not letting the other person express their feminine energy and you're not providing any masculine healing energy to them. You're instead forcing them to only conform and express the masculine side of themselves, and you're not helping them when they're coming to you, right? The masculine is meant to protect and provide, and the feminine is to receive. And so when someone's coming to you to receive in that energy and you're not giving, they're going to stop coming to you. They're going to stop trusting you. They're going to stop feeling safe around you. And so growing up as a queer Desi man in this country, I could kind of see just how toxic masculinity affected my own family, but also me, right? Like I see it in the way that the LGBTQ community is portrayed in Bollywood and Indian culture, right? It's very stereotypical, very hyper feminine, and it's just always the butt and laugh, like butt of the joke, right? And it's seen as like the worst thing you could be. And I think to that point, right, like it comes down to this like misunderstanding of the masculine and the feminine. And um I don't know where I was going with this. It's like if you want to live in the healthy masculine, you also have to be able to live healthily in your feminine.
Incorporating both the masculine and feminine energies.
I
We
want
are
to
going to get
add,
to that.
I
Yeah.
want to add real quick
Go ahead.
that
Go ahead, Renchi.
I think one of the most toxic things that men do is refusing to accept that they're wrong.
Mm.
And they stand by whatever, whatever they are talking about, whatever their opinion is. One of the most masculine things is to express masculinity, being able to like in terms of Ankur talking about emotions, being able to express masculinity to a point where sometimes you can be wrong, understanding the other argument and allowing that reason to affect you in a positive way, right? I think that it goes for anything. Just because I do fitness doesn't mean I know everything. I'm still learning on a day-to-day basis. And even though I have a coach, I still post things that I learned from him because I know that sometimes I'm wrong, like form corrections. It's important. So you can take that into anything, whether it's talking about sports, talking about, health, or talking about mental health, talking about food. It's just anything. It's okay to be wrong as a man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh,
And
go ahead, Ankur. Go ahead.
I see that a lot in my family, right? It's like, I have a lot of uncles, and it just becomes this like every gathering becomes this like contest to like see who knows the most about like history or what's going on in the news, or like, oh no, you're not right about this, or this is what Modi said, or this is what was the actual true history of this place. And I'm like, where are you getting these facts from out of thin air? And it's like, if you like if you try to argue with these Desi men, these uncles, like they'll just shut you down. No, you don't know what you're talking about, or you need to look this up, or don't disrespect me by talking back to me. And so I think that just like within our culture, we are very egotistical. We're very much like center stone, and it comes from like that place of having to know everything and that pressure of just having to have all the answers. And I can't be wrong, because that would mean that I'm weak. And if I'm weak, then what purpose do I serve? And they'll reject me from the group or the family, right? So it's so ingrained in us. So
Hey, Ankur, information that comes from WhatsApp University is correct.
Can someone mute? I don't know who's on.
Srinivas?
It might be Srinivas. Radha, can you mute Srinivas, please? I don't know if I can.
I'm trying to find him. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
bro keeps disappearing. Okay, here we go.
Got it.
Perfect. Thank you. Sounds good. So there's a really good question on the chat from Arvind. Hey, shout out Arvind. He was our Florida guest host as well, by the way. Here's a question. So this is a romantic question, actually. So do you think the emasculating of brown men by the media lead to brown women thinking of white men as being more masculine than us? If the positive masculine media examples are white men, do you think brown women subconsciously were taught white men are more masculine and stronger and more of an ideal man than brown men?
I
It's a fully
think
loaded question.
it
Yeah.
is, and I think half of it has to do with, or maybe a lot has to do with the fact that we have all these stereotypes associated with us, right? I remember when I was in college, or even after college, I would hear like brown girls say like, "Oh, all brown men are the same," and I'm like, "What does that even mean?" But it comes down to like how they express their emotions, how they dress, how they look, just like everybody looking the same or acting the same. I think puts a dent in terms of like how you view a certain group of men. Obviously they're not all the same. And sure, maybe they share different emotions and passions than each other. But unfortunately, depending on what you see, that stereotype adds up. And so when it adds, then you have that mentality like maybe I should look, like I guess in this case, in this question, white men, right? So I think a lot of what I do is about proving that wrong. It's like about proving how, us Desi men like trying to destroy these stereotypes that exist within us. And I'm trying to show that it's possible for like, not to be labeled like that. And I think a lot of it has to do with stereotypes in terms of emotion, how we handle our relationships, like there's stereotypes about how brown men handle relationships. There's stereotypes about how brown men act in relationships. And I think that also just portrays amongst the whole group of people, like the whole race of men, so, or gender.
I think it all also ties back to mental health at the end of the day. And I think that's the big focus of this conversation. Because Desi men do not regulate their emotions, do not go to therapy, don't have the emotional intelligence to like have engaging conversations or even like ask basic questions to their partner and take care of them, right? I talk to my girlfriends about this all the time, and all my girlfriends are like, I want a Desi man if he goes to therapy, like that's their one requirement, because so many men just don't go to therapy, right? And it's like they're tired of dating men who don't know how to regulate their emotions, but they still want to be with a Desi man. They still want to be with someone who is within their same community, same religion, same background, right? And so I think it's not just about like how Western media portrays us, and that subconsciously makes white men more appealing. I think it also has a lot to do with our own culture and how we self sabotage ourselves by not becoming in touch with our emotions.
Yep, you pretty much listed out the like you gave specific examples for what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I'm curious, do you guys feel like, for lack of a better phrasing, do you guys feel like Desi men, like it's like a macho culture, macho man culture?
I think it is a lot because
Okay.
I think like
Versus like, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but versus like, I guess American culture or whatever. Like he
well,
mentioned white men, like
so I think for like Desi men, they wanna be be at the top. They wanna they wanna be at the cream of the crop. Like they wanna run stuff. Like they wanna like run stuff as in like they wanna when it comes to whatever the business or whatever, they wanna do that. Be the best they can be and everything. So. And I think they're even willing to step on friends, step on people that they love. And sometimes that's a very toxic trait. And maybe all the time it's a very toxic trait. So I think we are willing to just kind of toss everything aside to be the best. And that's where the toxic masculinity part comes into play. Somebody in this chat, and I read it earlier, mentioned Andrew Tate, and I want to say like I completely agree that in the Desi culture, at least amongst Desi men now, they listen to a lot of red pill content, David Goggins, Andrew Tate, and things like that, to be able to take their mentality and become more macho, become like they want to be the best of everything. But the thing is, like a lot of stuff they say, I won't lie, is true in regards to like men, right? For example, you want to surround yourself amongst like-minded individuals, like you want to be able to be in touch with like your emotions, you want to take care of your family, things like that. I agree. But then there's their whole red pill concept where like they go way above and beyond this whole entire things and start talking about, stepping on people or like oh yeah, that girl loved you. Well, she's gone, so move on. Like, okay, like I'm not gonna sit here and like forget about everything just happened, right? Like that's again burying your emotions and trying to move on. So I do completely agree that that macho culture also is probably a lot worse now than it was due to social media.
Ankur, it looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this. You know, I hope to like with my own YouTube channel be the anti Andrew Tate, right? I do want to be a positive role model. I think for me, like what it comes down to was like growing up, I had a lot of elder cousins, and so I had a lot of positive role models to like see kind of how they lead their lives, how dedicated they are to their studies, how they stay out of trouble, and just watching them grow up, and then I'm growing up at the same time, and then I have a lot of younger cousins, and I also want to be a positive role model to them. And so I do think about like how am I talking about this topic, or how am I coming across, or am I being a positive role model? And I think that like when you look at like someone like Andrew Tate, who's become this role model figure for a lot of young men, it's because they don't have any sort of support system at home, any positive, encouraging, emotionally intelligent father figure, or brother that they can turn to. And so you get this spiraling and this more toxicity, right? So I think yes, there is a macho culture, but we can turn it into a more nurturing culture, right? Like we could still take the great aspects of macho culture and being the man, being the provider, and teach younger men, teach our younger brothers and cousins and our like cousins' kids and like our nephews, like we can teach them how to respect women, how to respect their mothers, how to speak to people, how to actually show up as a man. And we have to lead by example to do that, right? We have to introspect and really figure out like how am I showing up, right? And I think um as Desi men, like we tend to like get pigeonholed at a certain part in our life, right? We get used to routine, we get comfortable, we think, oh, we got a degree and we're done. Like we got a good job, we got a high paying job, we're married, we have kids, we're done. Now I don't have to work on myself. And you see a lot of these Desi men and uncles and fathers, they just give up on improving themselves and self-developing themselves. They don't work out anymore. They don't eat healthily. They just they don't even read books anymore. They feel like, what's the point? What's the value of this? Like I just have to pay the bills. And I think something like you were saying earlier, Virinchi, right? That whole idea of like our parents were immigrants, and we as the first generation, we have an opportunity to live differently, right? That comes down to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this idea in psychology that, once you have your basic needs of food, shelter, water taken care of, you can begin to tackle other needs in that pyramid. And we are blessed, our parents made a lot of sacrifices so we can focus on self-fulfillment, which is like the toppest part of that pyramid. But in order to like keep that going for generations, we have to continue working on ourselves and our own health. And so and pass that forward. And so um it comes down to like being intentional in and how you want to show up in your community.
Ankur, I have a question for you. Is all your parents, I mean, sorry, excuse me, is all your family, like on mom's side and dad's side, are they all in America?
Yeah, most of them are, yes.
Okay,
90%, yeah.
so yeah, so for me, it's just my parents and sister.
Mm,
99% of my family's in India. I have second cousins that live in Connecticut, but see them once a year, maybe.
mm,
The reason why I'm saying this is because I didn't really have a figure to look at. I
mm,
was probably like a hateful kid growing up because my parents were always like, study, 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 study. And like when I tried to do something else, like try to learn a skill outside of that, they always got upset.
mm,
But this is not to criticize them because they're trying to figure out life
mm.
for a kid for the first time ever, right? Like
Yeah.
they've never had a kid before. Now they have a kid, and now they're trying to figure out how to navigate him through school and everything.
Hmm.
And they want him to be successful. And ultimately, that pressure came from like you said, the sacrifices they made coming from India to be here. And so for me, like I never really kind of had that figure, and maybe because I didn't look at my parents that way, because now I look at them completely different, obviously. But I
Mm,
kind of had to find my way. Like I was like, who do I look up to? And so if you ask me now, like who did I look up to while growing up? I can't give you that answer. I probably don't know.
mm,
Even after college, didn't know. But as I got past like my mid 20s, I started respecting my dad a lot more for his hustle and things that he did to make those sacrifices to be here. So I just learned from him about like emotions and things like that. Just kind
yeah.
of see it, and that's my baseline. And everything
Mm,
after that is like you said, me finding my way to make myself into like that powerfully modern Desi man. Because I have no family here. So beside just my parents and sisters. So it's a very complicated uh way of like me navigating life and finding life here. But it's been a hell of a journey, I'll tell you that.
that's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Ankur, you touched on a point where like about like being a dad, like when you're coming here, you're not really necessarily worried about yourself. You're worried about making sure everything is provided, right? So I want to actually touch on this. Virinchi, you have clients who are fathers and stuff,
Yeah.
right? And I guess there's sometimes like a perception that being a dad doesn't mean you can't look good anymore. Like once you're a dad, done. That's it. Life's done. Time to get a beer belly. But
hmm
from your perception or perspective, that's not how it needs to be.
Yeah, and like I'll give an example of one of my clients. He's 45 years old, has two kids. I believe they're 9 and 7. And he's busy every day with work. He's busy every day with kid activity. His wife has like some personal injury stuff, so he has to take up more of a load to take care of his family. And he addresses it in the most humble way possible. When he came to me, he said, "Look, man, I need help figuring out like how to basically improve my health and nutrition." And he sent me a picture of like the type of body type he was chasing, like his dream body, basically. And I'm laughing because I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is a 45-year-old dad coming to me and saying, I need to get my health right. And the thing is, because he wants to live life in such a healthy way where 10, 15, 20 years down the road, he's still healthy. He has joints and muscles that are still operable and being able to play with his kids, right? Just because like you have a 30-year-old kid doesn't mean you can't toss the pigskin with them, you know?
Mm,
So he definitely wants to be like that dad that's like healthy, that's well, takes care of his nutrition. He's a lifestyle client. He's not trying to compete in bodybuilding or anything, but he's a lifestyle client. So he's like my role model when it comes to like helping individuals who have like kids like that. And at the same time, I think I have another client who's also a dad, and he struggles a lot with like trying to figure out how to work out during his busy day. So what we did together was that we laid out his schedule from when he wakes up to when he goes to sleep, and trying to organize his lifestyle so that way we can fit in an hour of for him to work out and get his health right. And one of the biggest thing that our parents struggle with a lot is health. And that's because you see it in India a lot when people are walking, they start hunching over as they get older. That's because they don't really take care of their strength. And because you don't take care of your strength, you lose what you don't use, right? So your muscles deteriorate as you get older. So this father that came to me, basically I'm helping him that way. Then I have a mother that I also help too. And this is one of the most amazing journeys that I have worked with, because she has never worked out in her life. Never. And she's like, how do I start? So I had to lay out a plan from her for how to start, because she wants to be healthy when her kids get married and she wants to dance with her kids on the dance floor. So just because you're a parent doesn't mean that your life is done. Like, this mom had two kids. Like, she went through pregnancy twice, and she's still trying to find a way to be fit so that way she can dance with her kids when they get married. I think that is the most beautiful thing that I have, one of the most beautiful clients that I've ever worked with in terms of journey wise, and I think it's great. So to address your point, you don't have to think that your health and your fitness goals are done once you have kids, or once you hit 40, or once you hit 45. Like, health is something you take care of until the day you die. The healthier you are, the more functional and you are with your strength over time. One last thing I'll say is, picture somebody who's 80 years old and just routinely kind of works on her strength. She's able to get up on a chair, grab something from the cupboard, and come down. Meanwhile, the same person who's 80 years old, who has never worked out, and now is just sitting on the couch asking somebody to bring her something from the cupboard. So it's up to you to what kind of choice you want to make and what kind of lifestyle you want to live at the end of the day. But those are some examples I can provide you.
Ankur, I know you're on the fitness grind as well. Did you have any input as well?
No, I just resonate a lot with that. I think, as children of immigrants, to the point, we are blessed to pursue our fulfillment and our dreams, right? While our parents made a lot of sacrifices. So having, living at home with my parents, and I work out, right? Like during the pandemic, I got more into fitness and taking care of myself, and I had that luxury of just like building a little mini gym in my basement, and it's like I could get my parents to come down and like work out like once or twice, but like for them to like see it like that they deserve that they should do that they need to do that to take care of their health, it's very hard to ingrain that or change their beliefs around that. And so until you like it comes down to this idea of like self-worth. Unless you yourself believe that you deserve it or that you can do it, you're not going to do something. And whether that is working out or going after a degree or field of study that's outside of the norm in our culture. So and I think as you know children of immigrants, we have this weird kind of perspective of just like watching our parents like live in a scarcity mindset while we are trying to live in abundance, and we're trying to get them to also shift their mindset and let go of certain habits, right? And at the same time, like we have this pressure to be successful, and we have this pressure to take care of our parents, to settle down, to have kids, and take care of our kids. And so we get caught in the cycle of just like um taking care of other people that we sometimes forget to take care of ourselves. And so I think as men, when we feel this pressure, it's often normal for us to that point of just like, oh wait, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to work out. I just can just like relax now, right? And we're so exhausted or burnt out from just like taking care of everyone that we put our needs to the side to just and sacrifice that. So there's a lot of different points there, but yeah, those were my thoughts on that.
I'm
I just
curious,
want to add one
Ankur.
more.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
want to
Go ahead,
add.
Virinchi.
I just want to add one more thing. Walking does not mean you're fit. Let me just say that one more time. Walking does not mean you're fit. Just because
Mm,
you walk doesn't mean you take care of your muscles. That's
mm,
that's not how that works. Because a lot of Desi people will think that they can just take a walk and they're like, okay, that's it. I took care of my health. Sure, maybe you helped your cardiovascular system a little bit, but you're not doing anything for your muscles. So that's like the most important thing that's going to carry over until the day you die.
yeah.
And actually, that is a good segue into maybe this is not a great segue, but
Mhm.
because we're talking about death, so I was like, what is the top five South Asian diseases, Virinchi? Uh
Yes, we can definitely talk about that.
yeah.
So, when it comes to like Desi people in general, having a balanced diet is something that we struggle with. We struggle with regular exercise. We struggle with stress management because again, like how we aforementioned multiple times, we work so hard that we forget about our health. And then basically routine screenings. So like regular checkups for like blood pressure, which is a big problem in our community, cholesterol issues, blood sugar issues, and ultimately weight management because we do see a lot of older Desi people who let go of themselves. But to answer your question about top five, we'll go with cardiovascular disease. That's number one. South Asians have a really high risk of heart disease, including onset and more severe forms of coronary artery disease. Exercise can fix this through like aerobic exercise, like walking, running, cycling. And then diet, so adopting like a very healthy diet rich whole grain vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats like omega-3 fatty acids, reducing salt, avoiding trans fat because look, our food is so good, but so high in fat, right? And then again, regular checkups to monitor yourself. Another one is type 2 diabetes, really big. Both my grandparents in India, they suffer with this too. We are at a very high risk of type 2 diabetes because we also have genetic predispositions of like obesity, dietary habits, and we eat a lot of refined carbs. So, a way to help kind of mitigate this, obviously, is physical activity, such as resistance training, aerobic exercise, and also finding ways to improve your insulin activity because if you are a diabetic, the way that insulin affects your body is a lot different. But yeah, weight management, that's a really big thing for somebody who is a diabetic. So maintaining healthy weight, that's one of the most effective ways to prevent and manage type 2 diabetes. Number three is hypertension. So that's high blood pressure. So we as South Asians, we also have really high salt intake. We have high stress levels and we have a genetic predisposition to high blood pressure. That's unfortunately just genetics at this point. So regular physical activity helps lower blood pressure. Diet-wise, reducing sodium intake, limiting processed foods, which we have a lot as Desi people, and incorporating potassium-rich foods, so like bananas, spinach, sweet potatoes. Those can help manage blood pressure. Also stress reduction. Again, we focus and work so hard. I'll say this, I have a client who runs like when he's working 300 miles per hour that he forgets to eat. I have to text him and be like, "Did you eat today?" And he goes, "No." I'm like, "Why didn't you eat today?" And then he tells me, "I've been running." So 300 miles per hour a day. So I'm like, okay, we have to literally put this into your schedule to make sure you have time to eat. You get an alert that you need to eat. And obesity, that's another big one that's in our this will be number four. Obesity is really prevalent. South Asians are very vulnerable to abdominal obesity. So a lot of clients that come to me and say, "Hey, I have a lot of fat around my abdominal area." And yeah, that's because it's a genetic predisposition, unfortunately. And we have metabolic conditions as South Asians too that play a role in that. So again, cardiovascular exercise such as running, cycling, strength training, those can help reduce visceral fat and promote overall weight loss. Again, diet, so reducing your intake of high calorie foods, high fatty foods is crucial. So definitely including more fiber in fruits. And yes, we get a lot of fiber from dal. And I just want to say once again, dal is the source of carbs, not protein. So, just want to put that out there because for some reason, WhatsApp University always says that dal is protein rich. It is not. So let's get that straight. I want to make sure everybody in this call understands that. So, The thing is, like, before I go to number five, a lot of this requires lifestyle changes. Like, you really need to understand, like, how genetically predisposed we are to kind of have all these different predisposed diseases and risks of health and things like that. So you really need to understand how us as like, the next generation can help reduce this in our communities over time. Something that I aspire to kind of teach and provide to while eating delicious Desi foods. But number five is chronic respiratory conditions such as asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So this is often due to mostly, I would say in India, more so than here because of air pollutions, smoking. If you're a big smoker and you have chronic respiratory conditions in your family, be careful. So again,
Does hookah
aerobic,
count?
huh? What's that?
Hookah? Does hookah count?
Yeah, hookah counts. Yes, it does.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, it counts. But yeah, I mean aerobic exercises, walking or swimming, those help you. Anything with lung function at this point, that would help you the best. And weight management and lifestyle changes are always going to be the two hardest things moving forward for Desi people. So you just have to adopt like a proactive approach to diet, exercise, and your lifestyle. And that's how a lot of these things can be managed and prevented.
I
Folks,
think too.
uh, one second, Ankur. Renchi knows his stuff. Download his ebook. He goes into detail in his ebook. Book a evaluation with him. It's 40% off. This guy's dope. Ankur, go for it.
Yeah, to your point, in this, like what you just said, I think a lot of it does come down to like misinformation and miseducation, right? And you know, as someone who actively works out and takes care of his health, right? It's like I don't drink alcohol, and it's really big in my family and in our culture to just like drink alcohol at every party, right? And I get a lot of like, whoa, you're drinking too many protein shakes, or if like I'm putting like creatine in my Gatorade, it's just like, oh, Gatorade's so unhealthy for you. What is this creatine? Like you're good, like, do you know what's in these products? I'm like, you're like smoking hookah, you're drinking alcohol every weekend, and you're drinking Coke and all these sodas and having all this unprocessed food. Do not tell me how to like take care of my health, And so I think like definitely there it's just it comes down to that just not knowing it, right? Because if you don't do it yourself, you're gonna see someone else doing something and automatically think that like what the heck are they doing, and you're gonna want to put them down or discourage them, or just like it's that fear of the unknown or fear of the other, right? And so um we can try to like lead by example as much as we can and encourage other people to make healthier choices. Um, but it's up to like once people actually start their fitness journeys and actually like work with a coach, they get to actually understand like, okay, wow, all this food really isn't healthy for me, and I'm not actually getting enough protein, or oh wow, I actually am out of shape. So I think you're doing a great job in just like helping, encouraging, and teaching our community more about how to better take care of themselves.
I appreciate that. I have a question for you, actually. Have you worked with any fitness coaches before?
I have worked with a few.
How are those experiences?
So I'll give my background. It was like it was a pandemic, and I was like just sitting at home working, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna just get in shape now, because like I'm not going anywhere. And so I got his coach, and he really believed in intermittent fasting. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. And so I would fast all day. Like I just have green tea in the morning or black tea, and 26 hours. Like I like every day, like writing in a journal, like this is the day that I last ate. This is the day I'm going to break my fast. This is how much water I had. This is how much sleep I had, and tracking my macros, right? And I was like really in a rhythm, and I did lose a lot of fat. But what I realized was that like it just was unsustainable once we came out of the pandemic. Like
Mhm.
once I started to socialize more and I was eating out more, I was like, I can't fast and just go out and eat and just be that my one meal of the day, because I was not getting enough nutrients and it was unsustainable. So then I started working with another trainer, and we were focused on building muscle and eating three meals a day. And I did build a lot of muscle. And then I was like, I want to shred the like fat, and I want to get lean. And it just it became really hard because he put me on really restrictive calories that wasn't able to sustain. And then his coaching was very aggressive and toxic, where he was demeaning me. He wasn't like the way I would show up and be like, hey, I wasn't able to do this. Be like, why? You had choices. Why weren't you able to? Why didn't you make the right choice? Right. And I just feel so like shamed in that moment. And like and so I would say like my experience has been like really extreme trainers, like extreme on different ends. And so it's been hard to me to like right now I'm like on a break from working out and from working with the trainer. But like I think it comes back down to like leadership and how you actually lead and coach someone. And yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, the reason why I asked was because this is generally a question I ask people when they are going through an evaluation with me. Have you ever worked with a coach before, and how's your experience? The reason is because at the end of the day, as a Desi South Asian focused coach, I want to be able to show you kind of like the lifestyle you can live while enjoying Desi
Mm,
foods and things like that. And
yeah.
also providing like a positive reinforcement and providing like reasons why maybe, hey, why did you miss this? Is everything okay? How can we fix this together? You know?
Yeah.
I think a lot of coaches like you're talking about, they're willing to just kind of take you, be like, here's everything, deal with it. We'll see.
Mm,
I'll talk to you whenever, you know?
yeah.
But like for me, like I'm really willing to hold your hand from like, day one until day whatever you decide that you no longer want to work with me, you know? And I
Yeah.
think like, especially for Desi people, they need a lot of help around how can I eat Desi food and still
Mm,
enjoy life while either losing weight, gaining muscle, or like just maintaining your body type. It's eternally possible. It's definitely possible.
mm.
I've seen it in my clients. But yeah, I was just curious to see what your experiences was.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah, I definitely have to download your ebook and book a session with you now.
Sounds good.
absolutely. And Ankur, both your coaches are on this call right now crying. I'm totally joking. That'd be hilarious though. Um, so actually, going back to what Virinchi was saying, like he was going giving like a breakdown of the diseases and stuff, right?
Mm,
And these are all physical aspects of it. Um, Now there's also like a mental and spiritual aspect of it as well, right? Ankur, I think you mentioned that you do some breath work and stuff. Like, can you give us like what are some of the things that you do, uh, to ground yourself?
sure. So I mentioned like taking time to like list your 5 things you're grateful for throughout the day and incorporating rituals. And I think as like for like Virgie's example, right? Like as men, we tend to just be focused on being productive and work and go, go, go. And I think it's really like I've had to be more intentional as I'm sitting and working to like take a break and to, go outside, like stand barefoot in the grass, do some deep breathing, or taking some time to meditate, doing some yoga. For me, breath work it's something I'm still getting into and learning, but like something I've recently like discovered is just like these brain activation techniques. Basically, what it's meant to do is help stimulate your cranial nerve and regulate your nervous system. And so the way you do this is like you will take something like an Olbus inhaler. Um, and there's very different exercises you can look up, but basically, like, you take like a stick, you put the stick in your mouth, and you take the Olbus inhaler, and this is like a little
Okay.
like this is like Vicks in like a little tube, and it just like it's like aromatic, so you can like smell it. You like stick it in your nose, and basically you would breathe in from one nostril, and then like you do different kind of breath works like exercises with the Olbus inhaler, or you do different sort of like pranayama where it's like same side nostril breathing. And the whole point is it helps reset the nervous system. It helps just get you back grounded in your breath, in your body, and it's supposed to help activate the brain and just recharge you. So I've been working with, I'm like learning and working with a coach who specializes in helping like athletes and people who need help in recovery. to
Right.
recover better. And so I'm really getting into these practices just to for my own education, but like to your point, like taking time to do like yoga, meditation, even stretching, even breath work like this, it's really meant to benefit your mental health. And there are a lot of mental health benefits from exercising, from swimming, from cardio, from lifting weights. It's like a meditation in itself.
What specific breath work do you do? Do you have one?
I'll just like box breathings. It's like you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold for 4 counts, you breathe out for 4 counts, and then you hold for 4 counts. And another variation
Okay.
is to like breathe in for a certain number of counts, like breathe in for three counts, breathe out for like 6 counts, and do that like 7 times. But then like on the like you're doing all that like with your nostrils, but like on the seventh time you exhale with just your mouth. And like then you repeat that cycle 7 times. And so there's very like you could Google it and look online. Like there's so many different kind of breathwork techniques you can do. There's different like meditations you can listen to like reset to calm yourself down. And I think what's in order to like make it a habit or make it some sort of like anchor it into your day, right? It takes more intention, right? It takes a little bit of planning. It like to Virgie's point, like, sometimes you have to schedule out like 10 minutes and like to like take a break every 20 minutes, right? Or after lunch go for a walk or then sit down and do meditation. It takes sometimes coordination and planning. And sometimes like for me, like I'll wake up like 20 minutes earlier just so I can fit these exercises in now, or even like before bed. So it all comes down to how you manage your time. But the important thing is to be conscious of your emotions, be conscious of your body, of your nervous system, of your energy, your mood, and then just even like if you feel off, just taking like being like, hey guys, I need to go out and just like take a breather, right? Like just being able to advocate for yourself and just know what you need and give yourself what you need in that moment.
And this is really
Beautiful. Oh,
funny
go ahead.
because
Go ahead, Virinchi.
my dad does a lot of this, like breathing exercises. And when he first told me to do it, I was like, I'm not doing this. I go to the gym, like I work out. But like as I got older and like I recognized the reasons behind it, I'm like, this is like breathing in general and breathing techniques and stuff like that. It's powerful. It's very powerful.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And beautifully said, both of you. Ankur, very well said. Follow his YouTube channel, Coordinated Life. Radha linked it in the chat. He knows his stuff.
thank you.
And we'll go back to the fitness aspect. So we just talked about some of the techniques for like on a spiritual level, like maybe the breath work, how to ground yourself, right? I guess for a super duper beginner, Virinchi, what exercises would you recommend?
Well, the thing is, I would have to ask what kind of beginner this person is, right? Have they ever gone to the gym before? What's their history? And so basically what I would do is I would look at the way you eat, the way, how mobile you are, like how all your joints mobile are. I'll look at your medical history. I'll just take a look at your lifestyle as well. And ultimately I'll take a look at to see like how what are your goals basically? What are you trying to achieve? Like are you just trying to get fit, put on more muscle? Are you just want to be more active? Like what's the end goal here? And through that conversation, that evaluation that I'm talking about, I basically would recommend a program for you. And based on that program, I would evaluate to see how the changes happen over time. Now, listen, if you're a beginner, you probably have no idea what you're doing. So what I do is like I offer FaceTime calls like when you're in the gym, and that way I can help you with form and I can help you navigate your way through the gym. And listen, sometimes it might feel uncomfortable, or sometimes it might feel embarrassing for you to be able to go to the gym when you've never done it before. It's like, where do I start? That's why I give you a program to figure out
Right.
what to do. But I'll also say one thing. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're working out or like you're trying a new hobby or something. Embarrassment is the cost of entry. It's always the cost of entry for whatever you're trying to do. It was me when I first started my coaching business, and I was like, damn, like I'm a brown dude who's trying to coach brown people. Like this is very weird to me. But even though other people might think of it as like it's an embarrassing aspect, I said I'm going to do this anyways. And I think as a beginner, the fact that you're even coming to a coach or that you're trying to have a certain program in terms of diet, nutrition, the your workout programming. I think that's a big deal on its own that you're saying, hey, I need to take this step to improve my health for X, Y, and Z reasons. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, at 140 pounds, or if you're a beginner at 400 pounds. The fact that you're willing to go and try to get help to fix your health, it's a pretty big deal anyways. So that's a long answer. I wouldn't really program some things. If I'll give you a program if you're a beginner. I wouldn't say, hey, go do bench press, go do squat, go do row or stuff like that. I'll give you a program.
He said it. He gave you a program, 40% off. Now we are very fit. Now we are spiritually in tune. We are mentally in tuned. But I feel like there's one ingredient missing that can probably take us to the next level. And that's fashion. That's dressing well. Um, I guess for you, Ankur, how does dressing well impact a man's confidence and well-being, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. Your how you dress is how you see yourself, right? At the end of the day, when you are like, if you like, and you I think the biggest example I could give is like when I started working from home and I stopped dressing like in these like button downs that I would wear to work. I feel so much more sluggish or so much more just like uninterested in doing my work, right? But like when I put on this like uniform, right? Even though it's like not a uniform, but it to the degree it is like when I actually like dress up and go out and like do my beard and go into the office, I come in with such a different energy and I feel so different. Like I would never show up in the office in my sweatpants, right?
Right.
And so how you dress is how definitely directly impacts your energy, your confidence level, and just like your how you're showing up and how you're presenting yourself. Yeah.
Beautifully said. Virinchi, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, just kind of adding on to what Ankur said, the way you dress is your identity, If it just because you dress plain doesn't mean you're a boring person. But there's people out there who love to just try things and sure they don't care what people think. They just think that, hey, this looks great and I'm just gonna wear it. So it definitely brings out a set of confidence in you. But what I want to talk about, what also goes well with, dressing well is grooming, taking care of your beard, taking care of your nose hairs, taking care of just your hair, right? Like getting a haircut and things like that. So when you're out in a professional setting or public setting, that you're presentable. Because at the end of the day, the way you look is the way that it's your brand. It's the way that you're going to be expressing yourself. So if somebody's out in public and they don't have their beard done and their hair is all over the place and they look scrappy, like I think it gives off a bad view, even though like the person might be a genuine person. It's just like recognizing that you need to take care of yourself. And a taboo, I think, in the Desi South Asian community is how do you address balding, right? Because I think a lot of men, when they go past their 30s, their hair starts thinning and it's natural. You start to bald it's a big genetic predisposition in our community. And I think there's three different ways you can do this. One, rock the balding, right? There's no shame in it. There's people that do it and it's awesome. The other is like, hey, you're balding, but you want to stick with the hair you got left, by all means, like stick to the hair that you have left. Um, I have friends who do that and they absolutely love it and they think that their hair is part of their identity, so that's why they keep it. Then there's a third group of people who actually, they go to like Turkey, get hair transplants or things like that. And look, if that's what you want to do and that's kind of the money you want to spend because you like are not confident in the way that you look without like hair, by all means, go do it. I don't think there's a bad reason to not do it. Because at the end of the day, lok yak kahenge, right? Who cares what people say? People love to yap. So be able to express the way that you want to with your clothes, your beard, your hair, and make yourself look the best version of yourself.
Absolutely. And I obviously can't relate to the balding aspect of the conversation here. It's like, nah, I'm booking a flight to Turkey right now, apparently. No, I'm kidding. Joking.
See, but you're somebody that's comfortable
Oh, I
like
love it,
with
man.
that, you know?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Thank you. No, this is great advice because eventually I think isn't there a statistic that most men do eventually go bald at some point in their life
At
or
some point, like they
yeah.
do. Yeah, like you can have the thickest of hair, but your hair will thin over time. Like my paternal grandfather, I think he passed away when he was like 60 or like mid 60s, but hey, he had a head full of hair. Man's definitely had a head full of hair. And then I look at my mom's side and my grandfather is like bald. So he's basically rocking onto whatever hair he's got left. So I think it
Right.
just depends.
And oh, Radha mentioned fun fact, so do women. That's so true. I guess I just never realized that, but yeah, that's true. Women do.
I think
Yeah.
because as men, we're so focused on ourselves and our hair and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
that becomes our self-identity that we don't really care about like, the other sex because we think more about how women look at men with their hair.
Right. And actually, Vishal mentioned he mentioned something here. As a bald guy, I am comfortable with my baldness. My family and friends are not as supportive. It is
Hmm.
disappointing. What advice can you guys give? Ankur, let me go to you. Is there any advice you can give him?
Sure. I think this might be pushing you a little bit out of your comfort zone. Um, this is where I would call for you to set boundaries when people make comments or demean you, and just flat out say like, it's I am not comfortable talking about my body, right? I'm not comfortable talking about my, this. Let's not, can we please not talk about this going forward? And I think like in our community, it's very um just it's been normalized to just say things about each other's bodies, right? Like it's normalized to be like, oh, you look like you lost so much weight, you're just skin, you should so skinny, you should eat more, or like, oh, you're getting some weight, you should go to the gym, right? And like people like, yeah, the bitch says and height and weight and skin color, like it's very yeah, we our community is very unsensitive or insensitive, right? And so and I think it takes, you have to be confident in yourself to set these boundaries, because like when you are setting these boundaries, you're showing that like you respect yourself and you're not going to take any disrespect. And if the person does not respect your boundaries, then they have to grapple with the consequences of doing so. And that might be you distancing yourself from them, you not talking to them, but you can only do your best to communicate and set your boundaries. It's up to the other people to respect them. And it hurts when people that you love and who are important to you don't respect your boundaries or hear you, or and I think that goes back to men vocalizing their feelings about something, right? So I would advise you to like, don't be passive aggressive about it, don't be aggressive about it, be assertive about it, be firm, and do it on the spot. Do it not in a way that is insulting or embarrassing for the other person, but just very firm and confident in yourself. Or you can, take the person to the side and say, hey, I don't like it when you say this, right? You don't have to, you can call them out in a group, or you can take them to the side, however you do it. You could do it in a group setting to let everyone know and make an example of it, right? It's really how you feel comfortable. But I would say like definitely this is something that where you have to take a proactive approach to standing up for yourself and setting those boundaries,
I
because you're the
agree with
only
that.
person who can do it. Yeah.
Completely. Yeah, you gotta check it when someone is disrespecting you like that. Um, yeah. I mean, Virinchi, what are your thoughts on that?
The only thing I'll add to that is you are already comfortable with the way you are, and that's the most important thing. And I think everything else that Ankur said falls into play once you're comfortable, right? So the fact that you already are comfortable, now you just gotta take those actionable steps that Ankur mentioned in order for you to kind of set boundaries and remember that, hey, this is your life. Like, who cares what people think? So if you're already comfortable with it, so be it, you know?
Absolutely. We have a couple comments here. Fun fact, male pattern baldness can be inherited from either side of the family. Oh, okay. Interesting. I always thought it was like, what did they say? The mom side? But yeah, okay. Um, Neelaj said, actually, I guess this is more of a question for Radha, but this is an interesting one. Radha, how many women come to you and say it's important to me that my person has hair? And
It's a good
Radha
question.
responded, most say if they are balding, it's better to own it and just shave it off.
I like
But
that.
but what if you own it by just balding? Isn't that kind of like how you said your friend, like he just enjoyed his hair, Virinchi, or
Yeah,
something?
he just
Yeah.
enjoys his hair. He told me, I mean, I know it's his ex-girlfriend, and but she loved him for the way he had his hair and how confident he was with his hair. So, I think it just depends on the preference of woman at that point. But as a man, if you're confident about the decision you're making for your appearance, that's the best you can do, and you will attract people based on that confidence you have for yourself.
Absolutely. Um, we okay. Let's move on from balding because I realized we spent like 5, 10 minutes on it.
Yeah.
But what are some key fashion tips for Desi men? Uh, Actually, and this would be a Ankur question here. What are some key fashion tips that you can give Desi men to balance tradition and the modern style?
Yeah. So I would say that like, you know, as you are like wearing more ethnic wear, there's a lot of choices here in America now. There's a lot of websites you can order from or have it delivered, or different stores. I would say that like with a lot of options, you definitely get a lot of overwhelm too. So I think it's important to just like understand like what speaks to you, what um, like resonates to you, that expresses yourself, but also like is good with your skin tone and is like fits you well. I think like a lot of Desi men, they just wear all black and they're afraid to experiment with color. And our Indian clothing is so colorful. Our culture is so colorful and vibrant. Like, don't be afraid to wear pink. Don't be afraid to wear those bright colors and stand out. I think another thing I see, you know what, a big pet peeve of mine, and really grinds my gears, is seeing everyone post their like Eid fits or their Diwali fits, and like you see like these Desi men are wearing these kurtas that they didn't iron, and you could see the like the creases where they just pulled it out of like the plastic wrapper and then they just threw it on. I'm like, iron your clothes, steam your clothes, like
Guilty.
dunk it like in
Absolutely
front,
guilty. Yes.
like banda bano, it's just like like that's like those are the extra steps that like you have to take in your presentation, because otherwise you are going to look sloppy. And to Virgie's point, like when you take those extra steps in your grooming and like accessorizing and just like those little details, they stand out and they really do make a big difference. And for to answer the question around like traditional versus like modern, I think everyone can, maybe if you can imagine, like you've seen like our like uncles and aunts in India, like they all dress a certain way, and to a certain point, like they all wear like the same sort of like sweaters, or like like you see those old Desi men wearing those coats and those like button
Hmm.
downs, and like something that like I see my grandmother at home do. She just only wears Indian clothes. She's not comfortable wearing jeans at all, and so her whole life she just wears like kurti and pajamas. And so I think like as you are playing with your style, and you're however you're dressing for a date, for going to the club, there's always ways to add in Indian elements, and as you're going to more Indian or South Asian functions and things, there's ways to add modern and Western elements. So it's all about just like being more intentional, being creative, and just having fun with it.
I think I think social media helps out a lot today because when I was in high school, I had the nickname of Rainbow Boy because I did not know how to mix colors. Like I did not know how to put colors together. So
Mm.
like I was just called Rainbow Boy for a little bit.
Oh,
And once I got to college, I started figuring out how to become more fashionable and dress well and things like that. So I look at social media now and I'm like, kids in high school or like, young adults have social media to help them kind of figure out how to dress, how to look good, what to wear, how to experiment with style. So spoiled for sure. I use it now to still help me, but
yeah.
if I had that back when I was in high school, I wish I did, but
Yeah, Pinterest, Tumblr,
yeah,
YouTube,
that's what I use now.
Instagram. There's so many like ways you can search and see different aesthetics, different influencers,
Yeah.
and like I said, being like then like thinking for yourself and being creative and having fun with it.
Yeah.
Something I like to do, like I play with my hair a lot. Like right now, my hair is grown out, and but like I'll show you like last year, like on my Tinder, right? My hair, like this is like you know how you can like set your Tinder to like be the most swiped on photo to be your
Hmm.
profile photo. So my most swiped on photo on my Tinder, I'll show you. It's it's this photo where I just got this
Hmm.
really high fade and my friend is like, this is the hottest picture of you ever. You know, it's like you look
I love it.
like a player here. You look like super masculine and like you don't even look like yourself. And it's my most liked on picture, right? And so it's like you can be creative and like try, like don't be afraid to try things out of your comfort zone. Like this was out
Yeah.
of my comfort zone, but it's my most like picture, right? And now like my hair is like I've grown it out long. I have a thicker beard. I'm thinking after this season that I'm in, I'm probably gonna shave off and just and be bald. You know, like just
Yeah.
try that look, right? I'm constantly playing with my look because like you know you only live once. Like why not grow out your hair? Why not try different styles and just see how you look. It's all about like experiencing life and having fun with it at the end of the day.
Hire Unker for your dress and style needs.
Absolutely. Both their Instagrams, King V Fitness and
I'm
a
coordinated.
coordinated life, correct, Ankur?
Coordinated life, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So both their Instagrams, follow them for fashion, fitness, just in general, self-help stuff. They're your go-to. Um
Thank
we
you.
have a couple minutes. I wanted to take some time for the audience. Do you guys have any questions that Ankur or Virinchi can answer? Any questions?
I'm checking the chat.
No, no worries. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. Dipesh wrote, Desi men, bring out the inner Maharaja in you bros. We kings and queens. Yes. And like to that point, right? Like how you dress is how you feel, and your confidence directly is linked to that. And um, I think like our parents and I see a lot of Desi men just like after they reach a certain age, they just don't put any effort anymore. And I think like, you know, as you're a single man and you're dating, whether you're a gay or straight or non-binary, whatever whoever you're looking for, your appearance plays an important role in how you date, how you show up, and how confident you feel about yourself. And so taking care of your health, taking care of your fitness, taking care of your fashion, it's like it's all interconnected and it all comes down to like how you want to live powerfully and how you want to express yourself powerfully.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. And we have one question. This is the final question of the night. It's from Dipesh. And this one, I'm gonna give it to Virinchi Ankur.
Sure.
So how do you deal with haters and bullies?
Yeah, I can answer that first. And I think because through middle school and high school, maybe in some elementary school, I dealt with that a lot. I had to, and yeah, especially from let's talk about family too. Like, I dealt with that a lot too in India. Like my family in India would bully me because I wouldn't speak Telugu like properly. You know, born and raised in America here, I didn't speak good Telugu. Um, in terms of like just handling the way people talk to you requires you to kind of rewire your brain. And I say this in a way where, for example, I wrote down some examples here as to how you can rewire your brain when you're dealing with bullies. Something is like sometimes you can be like, I shouldn't have done that, right? But instead, you think, I needed that lesson to grow. Same thing. Why is this happening to me? Or why is this person bullying me? And then you ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Or if you say, like, I don't fit in anywhere and I'm getting bullied, right? Instead, you say, I am unique and I'll be appreciated by the right people. Another way is can be like some bully might tell you you're not good enough, but then you tell yourself, my worth isn't defined by my struggles or mistakes. again, another way somebody can tell you, a hater would be like, it's too late for you to start your own coaching business and things like that. But then you need to remember that it's never too late to start again, ever. It's always okay to start again. And then one more thing is that, like, if somebody tells you that you're behind, like somebody's really telling you that you're behind career-wise, health-wise, fitness-wise, just know that everyone has their unique story and timeline. Yours is unique, mine is unique, Utkarsh's, Ankur's, Radha's, all of ours are different, unique. So when you rewire your brain this way and somebody starts talking to you in a specific way, it's okay. As long as you understand that you are confident in yourself, you believe in yourself, you understand that you bring out the best version of yourself and radiate this positive force of energy. At the end of the day, who cares what people thinks? If you're doing well, people will always say something about you. So I guess you're doing something right.
Beautifully said. Ankur, did you want to add something as well?
Just that like as you progress in life, as you level up, you as you grow, it's gonna trigger the people around you and it's gonna
That's true.
make them feel insecure. And that's when you'll see who actually is happy for your success and who has been secretly like been insecure about you outdoing them, right? And I think, tying this
Evil
back,
eye.
excuse me, what?
Evil eye.
Yeah, and like tying it back to like masculinity and our culture, right? As men, we are taught to be the best, but we're also very competitive and insecure around other men. Whether that's in career or the dating sphere, we tie a lot of our self worth to how successful we are, how alpha we are, how macho we are, right? But also we do not want someone who's like our peer, our friend, our cousin, our brother to outdo us, to get ahead of us, to get a hotter girl than us, to be more successful, right? So when we see them stepping out of their like of our circle and they're getting fit, we feel insecure and then we want to pull them down, right? Or when we do the same, other people want to pull us down.
Right.
So we just have to be more conscious of this as we continue to focus on our own journeys, because like Virinchi says, like all that matters is like you radiating positive energy, and the people who are meant to stay with you and who will support you and love you for who you are going to be there for you.
Wonderfully said, y'all. Beautifully said. Guys, thank you guys so much for taking the time to speak with us. Can I get some W's on the chat, please? Some claps, some W's, please.
I just definitely want to say one more thing.
Sure.
Um, and for a man, and and maybe for anybody, I think it's important to understand a few things. One, your chest is your confidence. Two, your abs are your discipline. Three, your back is your strength. Four, your legs are your power. And five, arms are your pride. It's normal to not know what you're doing. And if you did, it wouldn't be growth. It wouldn't be called growth. So high five your fear of uncertainty and doubt and carry on. And always remember that in a war of ego, the loser always wins.
Oh, beautifully said.
Wow.
Beautifully said, brother. Um, Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Radha, for having this platform for us to even have this conversation in the first place. Thank you, Single to Shaadi. And obviously we wouldn't have this without our guests who are on. Thank you guys for staying on for as long as you did. It was a fabulous conversation, amazing questions. You guys did great. Just again, just want to reiterate. Follow Ankur's YouTube channel, A Coordinated Life, and his Instagram, and get Virinch's ebook. It's free, completely free. Just go ahead and download it. And for all the folks on the phone call, he's giving you all a 40% discount for the evaluation. Definitely take advantage of it. He's one of the best in the business.
And
So yeah,
thank
thank you
thank you to
guys.
Utkarsh for moderating, for being our
Appreciate
moderator.
it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm doing my best. Thank you. Y'all, you have a good night. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you, everyone.
coming.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Virinchi.
you.
Bye, Utkarsh.